I didn't know that they had orientation mobility. Here, you're constantly taking the train, you're learning different routes a lot faster. I didn't realize how fast I would catch up on all that.
Lighthouse Guild Youth Programs.
My favorite part would be meeting other people who have the same disabilities like mine.
Youth Transition Program.
I think it is very helpful, and it has certainly helped me come a very long way.
Youth Skills Program.
My favorite was making those robots because I've always wanted to see how to make a robot out of cardboard. Today in tech, we learned that everything around us could be technology. I'm learning drama, technology, yoga, and arts and crafts.
Ages 6 to 21.
There's a lot of kids that ask me, what if I don't know what I want to do? I'm like, well, that's more of a reason for you to come here. We learn how to properly dress for interview, how to properly speak, how to present yourself well.
So my goals is to go to college and get a degree, and using the youth transition program to allow me to propel myself further and be prepared and ready for the college experience and the workload that will be placed upon me.
On the web at www.lighthouseguild.org/youth.
I need a Vizio book or a CCTV to do my homework because it's small, and I have not learned Math Barrel yet, so we'll get there. It's really fun, and I just want to say there's a lot of cool stuff that you get to do.
Welcome to Blind Abilities. I'm Jeff Thompson. Today we're going to be talking about the youth programs offered by Lighthouse Guild. And in the studio today from Lighthouse Guild, we have Jaden Mitchell. He's the Youth Services Coordinator. We'll also be hearing from some of the attendees of the Youth Skills and the Youth Transition Program held at Lighthouse Guild. Jaden, thank you so much for coming on to Blind Abilities. How are you doing?
Hey, good afternoon, Jeff. Doing well.
That's great. That's great. Youth programs that you have at Lighthouse Guild, and that's in New York City. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So we have a variety of programs here for young people at Lighthouse Guild, covering an age spectrum of about 6 to 21. What I want to talk to you about are our Youth Transition Program and our Youth Skills Program. The programs that we offer at the Lighthouse Guild are essentially meant to give young people an opportunity, certainly number one, to come together with other young people who share the common bond of vision impairment, but also to have a chance to learn, have fun, make friends, and most importantly, to develop skills that they're going to need for their long-term success, eventually as young adults.
So Jaden, with the Youth Skills Program, that consists of students ages 6 through 13. Could you give us some details on what that program, how that is set up?
Absolutely. So essentially, it's a school year-based program, similar to the other one we're going to talk about today, but it's school year-based, and we meet twice a month from the months of October through May. And essentially, it's meant to be an outlet for younger kids to actually come together and meet and spend time with and develop friendships with other kids who have vision impairment.
You can never meet enough people because it increases your life to new opportunities, and I personally think it opens your door to many, many, many wonderful opportunities.
Because basically for many of these kids, they are essentially islands out there on their own in their own schools, or even if they are attending a school for other students with disabilities, they might very well feel like one of the only kids in their whole network with vision impairment. So here at the Youth Skills Program, it's an opportunity for them to meet and get to know other kids with the same kind of challenges, the same kind of experience as them. So when it comes to what we actually do in the program, the specifics, it's a mixture of recreation, socialization, and skill-building activities, basically to help the students start feeling more confident, more self-aware, and bit by bit more and more independent as they come every year. So some of the examples of activities that we do, it's a lot of fun stuff because it has to be. We want kids to want to come here and have a lot of fun with us.
I'm learning drama, technology, yoga, and arts and crafts.
We do activities ranging from adaptive physical education, which we mainly do through yoga, but we do add in other types of activities as well. We just recently did something related to dance, and we might try something new next year, perhaps related to martial arts, but again, all around adaptive physical education. And then we also have a drama component where students get a chance to learn about how to kind of get up on stage and present to the world by making skits, by learning lines, by creating characters, and essentially through that activity, learning how to stand tall, how to modulate their voice, how to create a point and make that point. We also have a tech, as in technology, activity in the program, which is new and which has been going really well this year.
For tech savvy, you're learning about different techniques on the computer and different ways that you can learn how to use certain computers. You're learning how to use Word more, you're learning how to use Docs, you're learning how to use PowerPoint.
My favorite app besides YouTube would probably be Iro.
I need a Vizio book or a CCTV to do my homework because it's small and I have not learned Math Braille yet, so we'll get there. My teacher puts things in Word, puts them in my Google Drive. I copy and paste them into my uploads folder in my flash disk, and then I'm able to do whatever she's giving as work online. I can do it in Braille on the Polaris, and I just started doing that, and once I figured it out, it was amazing because it's so much easier to do things now.
So the students are learning about different types of assistive and accessible technologies and how to utilize them for academic purposes, for independent living, and essentially just to have fun and make their lives more easy and accessible. Also very fun, we have an arts and crafts component, which has been especially exciting this year. The kids recently just completed a create your own board game activity, and we actually culminated that event recently with a total game day where all the games got played by each of the creators and by the other students in the program. So it was cool because this was a chance for students to create something and to think about how they were going to engineer it and what problems might have to be solved over the course of the game. And it really was a multi-sensory, multifaceted experience for them.
It's lots of fun. We make all kinds of cool stuff that I would never even think of.
The activities are wide-ranging and meant to be fun, but also meant to build skills over the course of the program. So students start feeling, again, more and more in control and more empowered to do things for themselves.
You know, you brought up a great point that the students may feel like they're an island out there in this world, and coming together and meeting other peers that have probably similar eye conditions and everything else that they can share and network and start building relationships and friendships that way. Plus being challenged with these activities, especially drama. I mean, not too many kids get that opportunity to get into the acting field. Mm-hmm. This is really great. Now, how often do they meet during the school year?
So each year, it's essentially 15 sessions over the course of a school year. And so the way that lines up is basically twice a month. Although the calendar is irregular, it's basically every other week. It's consistent, it's frequent, and it's throughout the school year. And each cohort that comes in, it's the same group that starts the program, that ends the program. So that helps because students really do get a chance to build bonds and form relationships with each other over the course of the whole program cycle. It's kind of like a parallel, if you will, to their school year experience. So they have school Monday through Friday, but then every other Saturday they have this to come to, and where they're going to see each other and where we're going to build upon what we did last time.
I like that we come here every Saturday. I love being busy. I love speaking to people, that we meet new people, and that we really, little by little, they teach us how to be independent and that we're capable of more than we think.
So that really does complement whatever they're learning in school.
That's awesome. The next age group that you have is 14 to 21-year-olds, and you have a program, the Youth Transition Program. Could you tell us the details on that one?
Absolutely. So the Youth Transition Program, in some ways, is the next step beyond youth skills. We pursue many of the same goals, but we really dive a lot deeper into specifically the vocational rehabilitation aspect of all of our services. So as with the Youth Skills Program, there we're working, like I said, on the foundational skills, on the basics, on just starting to feel comfortable with yourself as a visually impaired person. And again, being able to step in front of a group and make a point and being able to create something. All of that is important. But then when we get into the transition years and in the youth transition program specifically, there we really are diving into specifics and starting to really build upon those skills so that we can get closer and closer to that transition point with those skills as much as possible mastered so that students really do feel ready for what's coming next. And for most young people, what's next? What's after high school? Dum, dum, dum. It's the real world. it's college, or it's entry into working life.
There's a lot of kids that ask me, what if I don't know what I want to do? I'm like, well, that's more of a reason for you to come here, because you probably do know what you want to do, but you're just afraid you won't be good at it. And how do you know until you try it?
So my goals is to go to college and get a degree.
Career skills, you're learning about like interviews, like how to like dress for them and like different ways to like show that you can do certain things like accommodate for yourself, like your strengths and your weaknesses, and creating your resume, which is really good.
And that's a big transition, and that's a big moment for anybody. But again, when we have the layer of disability, vision impairment, there's a lot more that has to be learned and planned for. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the youth transition program. Essentially, there are 7 core activities, and those happen on a varying basis all throughout the program. But I'll just tell you about a few of them. First and foremost, we have our vision rehabilitation rubric in the program. Now, what vision rehabilitation is, and this might be familiar to some of your listeners, but it's essentially learning independent living skills. So I often say for people who might not be as familiar, let's say if you were to wake up tomorrow and you previously had standard vision and you woke up the next day with impaired vision and there was no changing that, how would you get up and do everything that you have to do throughout the day? How are you going to put toothpaste on the toothbrush? How are you going to fix breakfast? How are you going to pick out clothing that matches? How are you going to do whatever? And essentially, there are strategies and skills and techniques needed to be learned and used by people with vision impairment that we teach in this program through the vision rehabilitation component. Basically, what you need to know to function independently through your daily living skills. So that's activity number 1. And then sort of the next step out of that is, let's say now you're leaving your home, you have to go to school, you have to go to work, you have to get out of your house. It's all about safe and independent and comfortable travel at that point. And that's through our orientation and mobility rubric in the program.
I didn't know that they had orientation mobility here because that was not accessible to me in Florida, because there you're not taking the subway, you're not taking the bus very much because you literally just take the car everywhere. Here you're constantly taking the train, you're learning different routes a lot faster, and I didn't realize how fast I would catch up on all of that.
All of our students get paired with an orientation and mobility instructor who works with them in terms of where they're at with their skills to learn how to travel and navigate safely using all types of different techniques and tools. After that, we have our career exploration component, because again, we're talking now about the transition years. We're talking about 14 to 21. So it's really time now to start thinking, what am I going to want to study one day? What am I maybe going to want to do one day for a job or in a career? And there's, again, extra things to think about when someone has vision impairment. It's not just, I want to be this. It's, I want to be this, or I'd like to explore this, and how am I going to do that? What skills do I need to learn, and what potential accommodations or adaptations might I need to learn how to make in order to be able to do that successfully? And so there's a lot of that we talk about in our career exploration rubric. Plus, it's also the building of important interpersonal communication, problem solving, and critical thinking skills that we try to work on, again, while having a lot of fun in the career exploration piece.
We learn how to properly dress for interview, how to properly speak, how to present yourself well. We learn how to make a resume, what's the 3 different types of resumes that there are, and what's a well-made resume.
Then, of course, no program is complete without the topic of technology. It's 2020, after all, and technology is changing every single minute. And we're trying to keep up with the pace of that, because we want to make sure that as students graduate out of our program and graduate out of school and get into the real world, that they're on pace, that they're on the same playing field as everybody else. And technology is a huge piece of that. So we're working with them on everything from making sure they're typing at a good speed to being able to manipulate accessible technologies like tablets and smartphones and smart speakers nowadays to be able to perform important tasks. And then on top of that, of course, we're having a lot of fun too. So similar activities that we talked about earlier, we do yoga in that program. We also have a creative arts piece. Drama also takes place in the teen program. And then we do a lot of other fun stuff by getting out of this building, going out and exploring New York City, visiting cultural sites and visiting work sites, and, making sure that we're learning how to not just function within a program, but to get out into the real world and try things and do things.
transferable skills, what they learn there that they can bring with them out there in the real world.
Absolutely. A key buzzword in career services, transferable skills. And that's important because every skill that we try to teach in our programs, we want to make sure it's relevant. We want to make sure it's not just something in a curriculum. It's a real life, usable, relevant skill. And we try to show them ways that this is applicable to your current day-to-day life and help them imagine and understand how what you're learning here can be transferred to school, can be transferred to college eventually, and how it's eventually going to be transferable to your adult life.
And that's really important. A couple of takeaways that when you were describing each of the programs and talking about them was, one, that you meet the students where they're at. And that's important. That's huge. And individualized, because you might have 5-10 students in a classroom, but they all are at different levels. So meeting them where they're at, individualizing it, because some may need a lot of technology, some may be, some of these students know a lot about technology already, but that doesn't mean they're all going to be on the same page.
That's right.
As it says. So that's great that you do that.
It is important. And if there's 25 students in the program, that means there are 25 individual specific sets of skill levels, backgrounds, learning types, and all of that does have to be taken into consideration.
My favorite part would be meeting other people who have the same disabilities like mine, like visual impairment or albinism or nystagmus and stuff like that.
Instead of you having so much pressure on yourself, you can just be yourself and have fun, and you can learn pretty much what you can do and what you can't do.
You know, we do a lot of our learning in groups because, truth be told, that's the real world too. Is most work takes place in groups. Most university learning takes place in groups. But we do our best to build the groups around similar learning levels and around social structures that we know are likely to work. And hopefully that helps the students in the long run. But indeed, everything does have to be customized, and we look at that really deeply. At the beginning of the program, all the teachers meet with the students individually, as well as myself. We have conversations, we try things, we do formal assessment, because we want to make sure that what we do together over the course of the next 9 months is actually benefiting you and you're actually learning from.
You know, sometimes when you're in group settings like that, some of the students that are more advanced in some areas, it's really neat to see how they will just lean over to the other student and give them a couple of tips or tricks like that. And that's why that networking really comes in, because
Absolutely.
You might not be talking about their favorite app, but as soon as you turn your back, they're going to be talking about, you know, kid stuff, youth stuff, teen stuff, and all that stuff, and they're going to be sharing ideas. So what a great way to get them all together and prepared for their future.
You know, I've said for a long time that this is, without question, the best group of people to work with, young people specifically, because I just don't think they get enough credit by adults for their talents and their ability to create things and their ability to work together. I think by and large, I don't know when it happens for us adults, when we cross a certain boundary and start discrediting young people for their ability to do things, but it happens to a lot of us, and I fight vigorously against that. I think that from age 6 all the way to the top of our age spectrum, these young people have insight, have existing skills, have interests, have talents, and it's just a matter of kind of us guiding that and tapping into that and giving it space to flourish and giving them space to try things and make mistakes and run into walls and whatever it might be. But as we do that, learning is happening.
It makes me happy because I can hang out with people who are like me, and we can have conversations about funny things that we've done or that have happened to us. Like we've done something or we've made something fall over or something. And none of my friends who can fully see would understand that.
And it's so exciting when I will step into a classroom or, you know, get a chance to listen to a conversation that's happening and hearing that maturity develop and hearing how students are helping one another and are giving each other tips and tricks, or how if they're just giving each other support. And it's not because an adult has come in the room and said, you should do this. It's because they genuinely see each other as cohort, as ally, as friend, as coworker, as whatever it is, and they want to help and they want to build all of this together. And I think that's an important message that we try to set in both of these programs. At the very beginning is we're all in this together. This is a journey we're going on through the whole school year. This is not my program. This is not the teacher's program. This is all of our program.
It sounds like a real team dynamic. How do you all get the students thinking like a real team?
If you ask any of the students what our core values are in the program, because they hear it all the time, it's the RCR, and that stands for respect, cooperation, and responsibility. And I break that down every year as in respect, because we have to respect each other as a core value. We don't make fun of each other. We don't put pressure on each other. We treat each other with common decency and respect. And that goes for each other as students, as well as for teachers. All of us respect one another, and from teachers to students as well. Cooperation, underline, because again, we're all in this together. This is all of our program. And we do things not because it's a rule, not because it's an expectation, but because we all want to cooperate to make sure that this is worthwhile and that we all get something out of it. So I think that's an important skill that we want them to learn, is that you don't just do things because it's supposed to be. You do things because it means something to do it, and you gain value from working together. And then finally, responsibility. And this comes back to that key and goal in all of our programs about independence. You have to take responsibility for yourself. And I don't know how much is happening out there in school or at home, but here at Lighthouse Guild, when you walk in the door, you are responsible for yourself. Whatever happens to you here, you're responsible for finding your way from the front door into our classrooms. Yes, we'll teach you how, but eventually you got to do it yourself. If you spill a glass of soda, guess who's cleaning it up? Not any of us. It's you, because you spilled it. And we're going to teach you how to do that if you don't know how to. But listen, we're talking about eventually you transitioning. Again, it's the youth transition program, transitioning out of your parents' house and into adult life. If we don't start doing this now, taking responsibility for ourselves now, you're really, really going to be left behind and way behind the game. So now we have to talk about the reality of that.
I think it's a good experience for anyone to go to. Like, if you're just coming into this and you don't know about any of these programs, it's actually a very good thing to do.
I think it is very helpful, and it has certainly helped me come a very long way.
I think, again, if you'll ask any of the students what we talk about as our key values, they'll tell you it's respect, cooperation, and responsibility. Not because those are blindness-specific skills, but because those are life skills. And here in these programs at Lighthouse Guild, we make sure that those are clear and adapted for the vision impairment piece.
Well, I think experience is one of the best teachers, and it's great that they get that opportunity to experience as if they can't fall back on their parents or something, because you can't bring your parents to the dorm, or when you move out, everything doesn't come with you. You have to take on those responsibilities. So they get a little feel for it, a taste for it, and, it's coming when you're at that age group. Yeah,
it is a common thread that you'll see among young people with disabilities, and certainly with vision impairment, is that, and I think it's, for people around them, it's usually out of the best of intentions, right? That parents will step in to help and will do things for their students, that often teachers will jump in and do things for those students. It's because perhaps they don't know better, or perhaps they just think it's easier, or whatever it is. And again, usually out of the best of intentions. But the truth is, you don't learn by having people do for you. From the very basic all the way to the most complex of tasks, eventually you got to learn how to do it for yourself. And where else but at an organization like Lighthouse Guild would we best focus on that? But here.
Using the youth transition program to allow me to propel myself further and be prepared and ready for the college experience and the workload that will be placed upon me.
Again, each of these students come from different backgrounds, from different schools, and there are some of them that really do have that focus of independence in their lives, but some of them don't. And thankfully here, every week when they come in, or every other week, vision loss is not considered a crutch. It's not considered something that is holding you back. Here, it's something that we work with, we work around, and we work through to make sure that you are performing successfully.
Well, that's awesome, because it sounds like what you have is high expectations for them, and coming into a situation where they can exceed and excel into those expectations really builds their confidence to use the skills that you're teaching them. Because sometimes you can learn skills, but you don't get to you can learn to act at home, but until you step on that stage at that drama, it's a different feeling when you have people interacting with people and the responsibilities. What a great opportunity.
And what happens a lot when you step out on that stage, or when you step into that maybe that mock job interview, or when now you're standing in front of the stove about to make a pancake, or whatever it is. When you step in front of that moment, oftentimes you'll freeze, or oftentimes you'll get nervous, or you'll do it wrong, or whatever it is. And you know what? All of that is okay. And that's how you learn, is by stepping through the freeze, making a mistake, making a mess, flubbing up your lines, whatever. But the thing is, you try and you get out there and you do it. And then you have people around you who support you, who encourage you on, and who give you space to do that. Essentially, that's the basics of what this program is giving these students the chance to learn how to do something, and then the chance to just do it. And yeah, sometimes it goes perfect, and then sometimes it doesn't, and we get pancake mix all over the floor, and then we got to clean it up. And that's okay. You know what? Because the more you do it, the easier it gets. And the more you do it, you find ways to make it work for you. And then eventually you're going to be able to do it confidently and comfortably on your own. And that's where we really want to get everybody to.
You know, there's a famous person, Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb. Someone asked him how he did it. He said, well, I know 218 ways not to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. Students are given the opportunity to try stuff, and, you know, that's how you learn. Experience.
That's exactly how you learn.
You got to give it a shot and do it. So, Jaden, how can people find out more about the youth programs at Lighthouse Guild?
We welcome people to reach out, and we welcome people to learn more. Probably the best way is through our website by going on to www.lighthouseguild.org/youth. YOUTH. So again, lighthouseguild.org/youth. There you'll find information about these programs, as well as a contact form where you can send us an email and specifically ask any questions, maybe about a young person you know, or anything else that you'd like to ask, and we'd be happy to be in touch.
Well, that's great. We'll put all these links and information in the show notes so they can click on them there as well.
Fantastic.
So, Jaden, what advice would you give to someone that's on the fence about looking into a program like this?
You know, I think there are people out there on the fence, both students and maybe parents. And it's understandable why you might be on the fence, because for some people, the feeling that if I go to a program like this, it means something. It means that maybe I am accepting that I have a disability. I'm accepting that I have vision impairment. And who knows what it means for different people. But I do want to encourage you, if you can just take that leap, if you can just give it a try, you'll find so many potential benefits. If for nothing else, just meeting other people who have a similar experience to yours, that's huge. And then on top of that, the chance to try things, the chance to learn, the chance to hopefully develop important skills that are really going to enable you to launch out of high school into a successful college or life experience. I think that that is really worth considering. And if you're on the fence and you need someone to talk to about it, we're here to hear those concerns and talk through them and to see if maybe it is a good match.
And I know we're talking about the students, but we mentioned could feel like an island at times, but even parents can feel like they're on an island as well.
No question.
It's a good way to start networking and learning what others have done, because none of us are forging this path alone. We don't have to, because other people have done this and sharing ideas and, you know, learning from you guys. So I really suggest contacting Lighthouse Guild, filling out that form, asking the questions, and getting in contact.
And thank you, Jeffrey, for pointing out about the struggle that parents have too, because it's true that a lot of times programs will focus on the needs of young people, and that's important. But there is a struggle that happens when you're a parent of a young person with a vision impairment. Kids don't come with manuals. They don't come with how-to books. And especially a child with a disability doesn't come with those answers. And it's so easy to feel isolated and to feel like you're not doing the right thing or questioning yourself or whatever it is. So it's important just as much for parents to connect as it is for students. And there are great resources out there. A fantastic one from Lighthouse Guild is our Parent Support Network. And I also encourage you to look into that too. If you're listening to this and you're a parent and feeling like an island and just wanting to be able to connect and have some support from other people experiencing similar things, check it out on lighthouseguild.org and learn about the Parent Support Network. There are great opportunities for meeting others, whether by phone or in person, and just learning about other resources out there, because you're not alone and there is help and there is support out there.
That's great. Jaden, I want to thank you for what you and the Lighthouse Guild are doing, creating opportunities and solutions for people out there. So thank you very much. And thanks for taking the time and coming on to Blind Abilities and talk about this.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
I'm proud to say that I've learned that I'm capable of much more than I think, and that I'm the only one limiting myself, that I am working on that because I am capable of so much more.
Be sure to check out the Lighthouse Guild on the web at www.lighthouseguild.org/youth. And a big shout out to all the attendees who participated and bringing their voices to this podcast. And another shout out to Chi Chow for his beautiful music. Thank you, Chi Chow, Chi Chow, Chi Chow. I want to thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed. Stay well. And until next time, bye-bye.
When we share
what we see
through each other's eyes, we can then begin to bridge the gap between
the limited expectations and the realities of blind abilities.
The realities of blind
abilities.
For more podcasts with a blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com, on Twitter at blindabilities. Download our app from the App Store, Blind Abilities, that's 2 words, or send us an email at info@blindabilities.com. Thanks for listening.